Hello, everyone. Welcome to Politics Today, live on Channels Television. I'm Sean Kimaloye in Abuja. We're keeping tabs on the Justice Okoyebi-led Lagos panel on NSAS, which submitted its findings a few days ago to the Lagos state government. But the government says it will come out with a white paper on the report of the panel. And it's about 7 days to the date of the release of that white paper. And we have our eyes on the matter. We're keeping tabs on it until the government release the white paper. But let's tell you that the ruling All Progressives Congress APC is working to unite party members, especially the concern of the aggrieved members. The chairman of the National Reconciliatory Committee, Senator Abdullahi Adamu, says the party is set to meet aggrieved members of the party across the country to harvest their grievances and address them before the next party's convention. Take a listen to him.
Bring in their petitions. And we've decided to be liberal enough as long as it doesn't challenge, our abilities to cope with the current situation where there's some definitive position as to when the convention will take place. And the understanding we have and everybody in the party have is that it is hoped that we'll complete our assignment, make the report, and the party takes whatever position it needs to take on our recommendations before the convention, because the hope we are nursing is that by the time we go to convention, we go as a party with little or no problems. We have something in the region of a plus or minus 35 petitions. And as you do know, you may wish to ponder, the petitions cannot have the same weight. So where we believe that the problems are deep-rooted, we intend to go and unravel what the problems there are and see how best we can proffer solutions to them.
Well, that is Senator Abdullahi Adamu, the chairman of the APC National Reconciliation Committee. Well, let's look at what is happening on the other side. The main opposition party, the People's Democratic Party, PDP, is bent on actualizing its rescue agenda for Nigeria. Today, the leaders of the party began a retreat with the newly elected National Working Committee led by Senator Yocha Ayu at a retreat in Abuja, where they are strategizing on how to ensure that their PDP return to prominence at the center come 2023.
Nigeria is in urgent need for a surgical operation. Nigeria is in a permanent emergency. We all know what the problems are. They are man-made and is therefore resolvable. PDP is now once again a well-oiled, serviced vehicle that will midwife the Nigeria of our dreams. It is indeed time to rescue and rebuild Nigeria.
You may agree with me that in the last two election cycles, we allowed ourselves to be defined by the APC with this massive propaganda machine. In my view, we can no longer be a party that just reacts to what the APC government does. No, we can't be that anymore. We must be a party that thoroughly articulates and designs a clear program of where we want to take Nigeria, as well as how we hold the rudderless APC government to account.
Thank you so much, everyone. It's now time for us to check out some of your political roundup stories.
The Chief Justice of Nigeria, Justice Tanko Muhammad, is urging the newly sworn-in judges of the Federal Capital Territory High Court to refrain from any acts that would bring their names to disrepute and shun all forms of bribery from those who may want to curry a favor from them. The Minister for State for Education, Mr. Chukwuemeka Nwajuba, has been lamenting the rot in the Federal Unity Colleges, saying that they have become dilapidated community secondary schools. While opening the 2021 Annual General Meeting of Principals of Federal Unity Colleges in Gombe State, Mr. Nwajuba says the federal government is committed to restoring the glory of the Unity schools through improved funding. The Africa Development Congress, ADC, has assured its members that the party will pull surprises in 2023 general elections by taking over Lugard House to effect massive development of Kogi State. The national chairman of the party, Chief Okenwonsu, gave the assurance in Lokoja during the delegates conference of the party, where new executives of the party were elected through affirmation to pilot the affairs of the party in the next 4 years.
Thank you so much, everyone, for staying with us. Some of the breaking news that we have for you right now on Channels Television is that the president has directed immediate suspension until further notice and the inauguration of the newly constituted board of the NNPC. Stay with us right here on Channels Television as we give you more on that. Of course, we can also tell you that Economic and Financial Crimes Commission, EFCC, is interrogating our former Minister of Aviation, Femi Fani-Kayode. Officials of the Anti-Graft Agency confirmed this to Channels Television earlier today, and the former minister was invited to answer questions relating to the forgery of a medical report which he allegedly procured to evade his trial before a federal high court in Lagos. The source says that Fani-Kayode was said to have arrived at the Lagos office of the commission and accompanying of his lawyer at about 1 p.m. Let's tell you that we're still keeping tabs on the Justice Okobi-led Lagos panel on NSAS, which submitted its findings to the Lagos state government. But the government said it will come out with a white paper on the report of the panel, and it's about 7 days to the date of the release of the white paper. We here at Channels Television, we have our eyes on the matter, and we're hoping that when that white paper comes out, we might be able to get details of what really has happened. So, the white paper may not have come out yet of the Lagos panel of NSAS. It's not yet ready. 7 days before it's ready. Of course, the white paper isn't ready, but the federal government is reacting to the issues that have been raised, especially majorly on the leaked report. The Minister of Information, Lai Mohammed, has been speaking about this. He addressed a press conference today. Take a listen to him.
There's absolutely nothing in the report that is circulating to make us change our stand that there was no massacre at Lekki on October 20, 2020. I repeat, there is absolutely nothing in the report that is circulating to make us change our stand that there was no massacre at the Lekki toll gate on October 20th, 2020. For us to change our stand, a well-investigated report of the incident that meets all required standards and will withstand every scrutiny must be produced and presented to the public. The report in circulation does not meet those requirements. We also appeal to the families of those allegedly killed in Lekki at the Lekki toll gate to speak out and come forward. It's untenable to say that some families did not come out because they are afraid. With the same families that are afraid and did not come out, will they collect? Will it be morally right for them to come and collect compensation on behalf of their wards who could not even come out to testify for? any parent who is afraid to testify about the death of his or her child is not worth to be called a parent. We reject the notion that our soldiers and policemen massacred innocent Nigerians at the Lekki toll gate on October 20, 2020. That conclusion is not supported by the weight of available evidence.
That is Information Minister Lai Mohammed on the SARS panel reports led by Justice Okwuebi. Although the details of that report allegedly, being leaked is being everywhere, but officially we are hoping that the white paper comes out and we'll be able to know for real, because the minister is saying that whatever is going on is fake, but is reacting to some of these issues. Let's dissect these issues. We'll stay on this matter for you tonight. I'm being joined tonight here in our studio by Mr. Garba Abari, who is the Director General of the National Orientation Agency. Thank you so much, Mr. Abari, for joining us tonight.
Thank you very much. Very good.
And virtually, since we're talking about the panel and its findings, we have a member of the panel led by Justice Okwuebi, a member, Mr. Segun Awosonya, who joins us virtually from London in the United Kingdom. Thank you so much for joining us tonight. And also, we have Ms. Osai Ojigo, who is the country director of Amnesty International. She joins us virtually too. Thank you so much for joining us. I guess it's good for us to begin the conversation with Mr. Segun Awosonya, popularly known as Segaling, a member of the panel. Let me allow you to react to what the minister said. The minister said that report being leaked is riddled with errors and is not factual. Some of those things that came out of that report is not the true situation of things, and yet question the propriety of what is out there in the public domain. How do you react to this?
Sean, as I often say, that I don't always react, I respond to issues. And I really would not know why it will be necessary to join issues with the Minister of Information, because I don't know in what capacity he is responding to this report that was submitted to the Lagos State government and also by extension to the National National Economic Committee Council, because we have done our work, and it is important to state clearly here that the panel members are quasi-judicial officers, and they are bound in the discharge of their assignment to mirror as much as practicable the hallowed conduct which benefits or which befits the officers of justice. So that means that they must be detached, impartial, and avoid joining issues with parties, before them, as it tends to prejudice them or convey impressions that can undermine confidence in the mind of the public. So as ethical as I can be on responding to what I've just heard now, I just simply want to say that we must, as a people, our leaders must also try as much as possible to wean themselves from this attitude of hiring professionals and then trying to twist them and force them to do things that will mirror their own sentiments. We have done our work objectively. We have presented facts. We hired professionals to do certain things for us, and every single thing we did was transparent enough. It was an open panel, it was a public panel. And so when our findings have been submitted, the only thing we can respond to, the only thing that we can speak to ethically is the response of the government through the white paper as promised to be made public. So until then, we can go into the details. But as far as I'm concerned, what I'm hearing now is the same attitude that makes the public feel that the gap between the leadership and the led is getting wider. And this is one of the reasons why government will never be trusted. We know the sacrifices that we have to make to be able to make this work. 1 year of our lives was sacrificed to do this job. And for us to have agents of government, or ministers within the administration doing things like this, it doesn't really inspire trust from the public. And I want to implore and advise that we shun all this and focus on responding appropriately and dealing with things based on what ought to be done, or based on how ethical these things should be done. We are not going to be joining issues with anyone or arguing over matters that have been presented officially to the government. I think we can do better.
Before I move to another member of the panel on the program tonight, let me ask you, Mr. Awosanya, because we here on Channels Television, we tried as much as possible to await the white paper, but also usually what happens is when you see leaked report in this kind of manner, sometimes it's a reflection, it's a mirror of the original. But can you tell us today, because it's what you worked on, that what is in the public domain, what was leaked, does it look like the report that was submitted by your panel?
As far as I'm concerned, I can neither confirm nor deny that what is in the public space is exactly what was submitted. The only thing I can tell you is that what is flying around, if it carries any signature, then you can trust it. And if it doesn't carry any signature, we should wait for the white paper to come out, and then we can speak to it officially.
The minister has questioned the propriety of the report. I mean, I'm very sure that he's probably taking a cue from the leaked report. Part of what he said is the use of the word massacre. Was that word used in the recommendations?
Whatever term was used in the recommendation or the findings presented to the government, state or federal, was clearly defined in context. And I think that rather than react to the sound of the word, or rather than react based on what the word might mean to them literally, they should read the report with understanding and know exactly where the panelists or where the panel is coming from, and then do the needful. This is a country, this is a democracy, and the people seek leadership that can actually do justice to issues. The essence of the panel itself is not to indict or punish anybody precisely. It is actually to bring about findings and recommendations that will ensure and ascertain healing of our society. Not deniers and not, why will this panel be set up in the first instance if governments know exactly what went wrong or what happened or what transpired at the locus standi? So why would you want to investigate if you already know? So I think, like I said, it's really sad, for some of us to be hearing this, because the panel was set up to actually assuage the people, to actually make the public know that government is sincere enough to engage, to investigate, and to come up with findings that they will do something about. But all this reaction shows that they are not ready to do justice to the work done by the panel. So, and I really wouldn't want to conclude. Like I said, it's best to wait for the official response of the government. We submitted it to the Lagos State government. He gave his word that in 2 weeks he's going to respond to that. After that response, we can have a robust debate on the outcome of that. But rather than project, rather than react, rather than catastrophize, I think it's best we keep our powders dry for now. The panel did a professional work, and it speaks for itself. Thank you.
Let me bring Mr. Osigo into the conversation, the country director of Amnesty International. Stay with me, Mr. Awosanya. Amnesty International has been one organization that has been looking into this matter from day one. Let me get your reaction to the Minister of Information's press conference today.
Thank you very much. I think the first thing is for us to establish the fact that, government, there are different layers of government. So the report has been presented to the Lagos State government. But as we all know, it's easy for government to communicate with themselves across board. And I think that the minister should use his position in government to be able to liaise with the state authorities to clarify or check information with regards to the panel's work. So that would have been an ideal step also, and to allow the state government to carry out their task in this regard. It's not surprising for us at Amnesty International that the Minister Lai Mohammed continues to deny the incidents that happened that unfortunate day, the 20th of October 2020 at the Lekki toll gate, because we've seen in the last 1 year the constant attacks, the constant narrative that is put out there to gaslight victims, survivors, witnesses, and to create the impression that people are just up to no good. What we've always consistently called for is for a transparent, open investigation into the happenings that occurred, not just only at the Lekki toll gate, but throughout the NSAS protests. There were protests across the country. People died, people were injured. There were all kinds of petitions and complaints that were made even before the panels were set up regarding the SARS unit and the police in general. Why is it difficult for the authorities to address those petitions and are rather focusing on targeting human rights defenders, targeting victims and witnesses, and questioning their integrity and their legitimacy? But like I said, we're not surprised by this reaction because it's been a constant narrative to deny, and at each point in time to conflate issues rather than addressing the concerns that have been placed by the public and by NGOs and people who are really concerned about what is going on in Nigeria and want Nigeria to take its rightful place in society. The people are tired of this constant battering. What we want to see is a government committed to finding the truth, supporting the truth, and ensuring that they get to the bottom of the matter. Denying and dismissal is not going to get us there. Thank you.
The minister said something in that press statement or the press conference that he held today. He said the effort and some of the outcome of what he's been seeing in the public domain, as far as the panel report is concerned, is an effort to vilify government. Do you think so?
Absolutely not. There are certain elements that have caused harm to people, and these are officers of the law. And what the public wants is justice and accountability. And I believe a government that stands for the rule of law and wants to make sure Nigeria is safe and secure for everyone should really be interested in tackling this menace. You can't have a situation where everybody is complaining about being harassed on the streets, being extorted, suffering torture, extrajudicial executions, enforced disappearances, and you don't want to get to the root of it. No one likes the insecurity that we're facing, and no one likes the violations that are being committed by security agents. So it's important that they address it. If people were not concerned, they wouldn't raise these issues. We're calling our government to work with us in order to bring these killings and this torture and these acts to an end, and to find justice, because until you address those who are perpetrating these crimes, impunity will reign supreme.
All right. I'll come to Mr. Abari, but I'd like you also to react to what the minister also said. The minister was making reference to some of the numbers of the lives of people that were lost. For example, the minister made mention of 37 policemen and 6 soldiers who died across the country during the NSAS protest. The minister said these are also Nigerians and should not be forgotten. I think I should come to Mr. Abari. Mr. Abari, let me allow you to react to what the panelists on the program have said today about the reaction of government and the attitude of government to the conversation about the work of the Justice Okobi-led panel of inquiry.
Thank you very much, Sean, and a very good evening, Nigerians. I think let me put it on record first that I have not read the report.
The leaked report?
I have only seen snippets of the leaked report on the social media. But the main report, I have not been freebie to it. I have read it, but I have read snippets of the report on the social media. The convening authority has been handed over the report, and it has promised to produce a white paper in 14 days. But if what we have read as snippets of the report, or the mere report as leaked in the social media, is anything to go by, my attitude to it first is to say that this is a very trying moment for a country such as ours, and the issues that have been raised or that brought about the setting up of the Justice Okobi panel in the first instance are very serious, fundamental issues that touch on our existence as a country. And therefore, when issues like this are being investigated, and the first attitude I would say is the concern of the government to respond to the yearnings, to the agitations, you know, to the cry of Nigerians that there are actually human rights abuses. There are incidences, confirmed incidences of human rights abuses by security officers, and Nigerians are saying no to it. Government immediately responded. That is, government at the center, by disbanding the SARS, which was actually the principal source of the complaint, and setting up an alternative wages. And within the context of the democratic principles of free speech, free association, you know, freedom to air your views, you know, unhindered. There were demonstrations at different parts of the country, and of course, government allowed this thing to go on for a long time. In fact, for almost a week, the demonstrations went on without anybody being harassed, intimidated, arrested, or whatever. But the police actually gave protection to the protesters until when what happened actually happened. And of course, you know for certain that when the authority of the state is challenged, not only the Nigerian state, any state at all.
Mr. Abari, I mean, you speak to Nigerians on the activities of government.
Yes.
Is it possible that there are mistakes that have been made by actors that are being sent by the authorities?
Mistakes as in what manner?
I mean, there are engagements which led to the incident of the 20th of October 2020.
Of course, yes.
So is there a possibility that state actors could have made errors?
Perhaps state actors had acted beyond the call of their duty, perhaps. But this is something which I have told you.
Will the government be willing to accept those errors if they were made?
Of course, yes, government would accept. Obviously, if the report comes out factually,
so if the report does not favor the government, government will not accept.
If the report does not favor government will accept. This is not an irresponsible.
But the minister had simply just give a big question mark on the propriety of the report.
Simply because it is a report that even one of the members of the committee is now saying he is not committed to talking about because he cannot talk about its authenticity. So if the report that the minister is responding to is the same report that one of the authors of the report is saying it is or it is not, so what are we talking about?
So are you saying that the minister shouldn't have come out now and waited for the white paper?
Obviously, the minister is right to respond to something which is already in the public domain and to which the government is now being put to test.
We'll take a break, Mr. Abari, because the comments of the minister tonight, the plight of the Nigerian people, and the work of the panel are some of the angles into this conversation which we would like to break down for our viewers to get a sense of where we're going in terms of human rights of Nigerians, the lives of those that are lost, the lessons that have been learned of some of these past months and years We'll take a break, and when we come back, more on this incident. Thank you so much, everyone, for staying with us. So the federal government is reacting to some of the stories that are being in the public domain for the past few days since the panel of inquiry into the EndSARS incident, which happened across the country, and of course, the major incident of the 20th of October 2020 at the Lekki Toll Gate. Allegations of killings and human rights abuses have been raised, and the report has been submitted to the Lagos State government, which says that it will release a white paper to that effect in 14 days. It's 7 days to the release of the white paper. We keep in tabs, and tonight we're digging deeper into what the Minister of Information, Lai Mohammed, has said today on the propriety and the authenticity, the issues raised on the work of the Justice Okwuebi-led panel. Tonight, the Director General of the National Orientation Agency, Mr. Garba Abari, has been speaking with us tonight. And virtually, we have Ms. Osai Osigo, who is the Country Director of Amnesty International, and a member of the panel, the Lagos EndSARS panel, Mr. Segun Awosanya, popularly called Segeling. They have been discussing this matter with us on the program. Let me come back to our Abuja studio here with Mr. Abari. So the question I was asking earlier is whether or not the response of the minister came too early. Probably it should have waited to another 7 days. Because if you say that it was you said that whatever that is in the public domain may not be authentic.
Yeah,
so the minister reacted to what may not be authentic.
Well, the minister did not react too early, because these are issues that have been hanged around. There are issues that have been hanged around the federal government about the Lagos State government as a convening authority. But you see, the fundamental question here is, who is really the larger convening authority? Is the central government, for which the minister is the chief spokesman.
So, but the question I'm asking now,
Yes.
Mr. Abari, is the minister has raised his question mark, dismissed the report that's not yet been made public. It was a leaked report. Should the federal government have reacted to a leaked report?
We want to believe that it is the report. I have not read it, I have told you. But we want to believe that it is the report.
And you're saying
we want to believe
the
that
minister had reacted rightly.
Yeah, I think the minister has reacted rightly. We want to believe that it is the report.
The federal government is not sure of the report, but it has reacted to it.
No, the minister did not say he is so sure of the report.
But the minister
has
said,
responded.
let me read to you the comment of the minister.
I have read the minister.
You've read the statement of the minister.
I have read the statement of the minister.
He said
I have read the statement
the minister
of the
simply
minister.
dismissed the report that has not been made public.
It has not been made public, but it does not mean that it is not the report.
Do you believe the leaked report?
I believe the leaked report.
You believe it?
I believe it.
So it is right for the minister to advise.
So it's right for the minister
But
to
Mr.
respond.
Awosanya, who is a member of the panel, said he cannot confirm whether or not that leaked report is
And
authentic.
that is his opinion, because he is now the one that is being put under.
So another question here, Mr. Abari, is the government has set up a panel and hoping that it will abide by the report of the panel. So is the federal government discrediting the report of the panel led by Justice Okwuebi? Justice Okwuebi that has a pedigree in the judiciary.
That will be contained in the white paper.
So because you say you believe the leaked report?
I believe in the leaked report.
So
because I know there would have been no report if it had not been. There would have been no leaked report if there was no report in the first instance.
So the question
there
is,
would have been no leaked report.
At what point will the federal government accept the report? Only when it favors it?
No. Federal government cannot say it is only when something is in its favor that it can. I mean, the federal government is not a government run by angels. This is a government of human beings. So and there is no person who can declare absolute propriety.
So since you say you believe the report,
I believe
the report. So the question is, if the report had raised question about human rights abuses, would the federal government accept that?
Of course, yes. Why not?
So,
is it not the same government that set up the same? Is it not the same government that gave instructions to all the state governors to set up similar similar investigative panels, similar judicial tribunals in their states to investigate these same human rights abuses that gave rise to the NSAS protests.
So that's the question I'm asking now, that the federal government had dismissed this report. It was set up to give lessons and make us learn from our past. But when the federal government says that report is not true, it's rehashed.
To the extent that this is the main report that we all expect it is, the federal government will naturally respond to it. I personally believe that this is the content of the report, even though I have not read the report in its entirety. But I believe if there was no report in the first instance, there would have been no leaked report.
So let me give an instance, sir. If I tell you that the dress you're putting on has a stain, will you accept even if you don't see it?
Of course, perhaps. So perhaps I can accept. Yeah. But I will ask you, why the stain?
If I've seen it and you have not seen it.
No, you can show it to me. You can show it to me.
If you trust me to tell you the truth, would you believe what I say?
That is absolutely true.
So you said that you believe what the reporters, the panel, the leaked reporter said. But because the response of government is in the negative, is saying what the panel has done without the lack of a better word.
I think we are mixing two things here, Shion. The issue here is, why did the government respond, the federal government respond to the report the way it did? The reason is simple. Some of the things that have been said in the report did not actually stand the test of verification. That's the point.
But that is a position. If you say you believe it, that is a position. That's your findings. They said they employed a lot of professionals for them to have arrived at that point.
That professional that they have employed, perhaps that did not do the work that they have been paid for. Because if there are this seeming large degree of inconsistencies, in the report, then definitely these professionals that must have been employed to do their work did not do a good work. There are so many things, that, it's
the point I'm trying to make is this. If the report was on the positive for the federal government would have absolutely accepted it.
I would also say that if the report were to be against the federal government,
it looks so much like it is against the federal government.
Yes, but
or the government.
But because the inconsistency in the report does not or do not actually support, the larger outcome. That's what the federal government has put.
Let me bring back Mr. Awosanya into this conversation. I'd like you to come back in. The federal government in that statement said that what was seen in the leaked report is merely a rehash of what has been going on social media. Again, raising a question mark on the effort or the outcome or the findings of the panel, which you said had employed professionals and you have dedicated time and energy in putting this together. How does this come to you if this kind of comments is coming up?
Well, Shion, thank you very much. In the spirit of education, I would like to say specifically that the Minister of Information is yet to see the report. He's only reacting to the noise out there. And I would suggest strongly that the government itself should prove that there is synergy between the federal and the state government. They should reach out to the governor and actually read the report. And the reason why I'm confirming now that he has not read that report is simply because of the statement that he made. He made a statement that security officers also died and their citizens too, as though the panel brushed over that and did nothing. And to that effect, it shows that we are more or less getting ahead of ourselves and chasing shadows. And this is exactly what our youth out there are fighting against: impunity. You cannot dismiss a professional report of people of integrity simply because of the noise of social media. You do your homework, get your facts straight, read the report, respond with the white paper, and then we can talk. Because right now we are only chasing shadows, and it's to me, I think it's I'm feeling really, really sad right now to know that we're making so much effort and wasting so much bandwidth and time on rumors. rather than having the report. We submitted 2 volumes of reports. One, which speaks to the general police brutality and specifically the petition of the police before the panel. And secondly, the Lekki investigation. There are 2 different assignments and there are 2 different headings. And there were 2 reports submitted to the governor, captured on TV. So I don't see any reason why we'll come out with an abridged trauma response to a professional work. I would really want the government not to widen the gap between themselves and the people, but to do their due diligence on this matter. We're still waiting for the governor to respond, and I will not more or less react or conclude on whatever it is that I'm hearing from the Minister of Information right now. I would just strongly suggest he calms down and he reads the report. The Lagos State is not too far from Abuja. You should get the report, copies of the report, and get the right things done.
Let me ask you this. Without necessary, because I know you're a lawyer, and you know what is within the premise of the law and what to say and what not to say, without prejudicing what was submitted to the Lagos State government. There are 2 reports. These are some of the facts that you're telling us now that we, of course, we're aware of it when it was submitted. But can you give us, I'm not asking you to give us the nitty-gritty of the details, but just give us an idea of the number of recommendations that are made in one of the reports, maybe the scope of some of the report, because the question marks are also whether or not the panel left those who died, the police officers who died, those who have their businesses that have been destroyed, police stations that were destroyed, military officers that were killed and all of that. Can you just give us a summary of some of the items that are covered without necessarily telling us the details?
Unfortunately, I can't, because 7 days is not next year. 7 days is a few days to come. The government have the report. It has been duly submitted. They know the contents. They should read the report, present a white paper from it, and then we can address it. Then if you want me to do a series on every nitty-gritty aspect of the recommendations, findings, and how we arrived there, I will gladly do that. But right now, it is unethical for us to be speaking to a report or a document that is yet to be public. So if government want to do their white paper and make it public, then we can discuss and dialogue. Then we will want to now hear again the response of the government based on the report that they have fully gone through with their professionals and advisory, giving the white paper that is in public. So that way, it will be better than for us to actually be speaking to our own report, despite the fact that it's not out there. We don't know what they are talking about in terms of what is flying around here. We don't pay attention to rumors. I don't watch TV anyways. I don't watch TV. I don't read things on social media per se, even though I operate there a little bit. So what I'm saying is government should give the proper response to it. Then the people of Nigeria will know precisely where the government stands as far as justice is concerned in this country. Because they missed a good way, a good path, a good place to celebrate that a panel constituted by the government themselves, brought out an objective report that is not actually mirroring or massaging the sentiment of anybody. It is transparent, it is objective, and it is based on the evidence before the panel. Thank you.
Let me go to the country director of Amnesty International side. If you look at the back and forth, what the government said and what the government didn't say, what the federal government said, what the Minister of Information said today, I was asking Mr. Segun, how would you describe the position of the federal government through the mouth of Mr. Lai Mohammed today?
I'll say there's a lot of, there's lack of coordination, and people are not speaking to one another. One of the biggest things that his statement and a whole lot of comments that has been done on the government side in the last few days shows why it is critical that information, public information, the moment it is available, should be disseminated and accessible by the public through the various channels, because we'll just be arguing about the authenticity of information and about whether it's original, whether it's from the source. The sources should have made this panel's report available and accessible the moment it was ready. And we've seen a history of panel reports that take years, if at all they ever come out. And we constantly demand that this report should be shared. It's unfortunate that we keep getting into this situation where the agencies are not speaking to one another. There's duplication of efforts. There's a lot of vilification of civil society groups, and anyone who has a contrary opinion to the narrative that they have been peddling. That, I think, is why we are here today. And we need to be able to speak truth to ourselves that, look, we can do better. And we actually demand and expect better from our representatives in government. You can't be just churning out statements because it fits a particular narrative that you're pursuing. What you should be doing is to look at things objectively.
Would you say that the minister's comments were hasty or not?
Sorry, could you repeat?
I said, would you say that the comments of the Minister of Information came too early?
I wouldn't say that. I think there've been comments from the beginning. From the anniversary of NSAS, there has been a narrative being peddled. So I think this is just part of that campaign to, dissuade people and to keep this, this farce that nothing happened. So I think it's just following that same trajectory.
Okay, let me come back to Mr. Abari. Going forward, what lesson do you think the federal government should take away from this whole scenario?
Well, 2 or 3. One is actually for government to work assiduously towards reinforcing and rebuilding citizens' government trust.
You think the government has lost it?
Well, largely, yes.
Where did you lose the connection?
At different sectors of the governance processes.
So the Nigerian people do not trust the government?
Well, the Nigerian people, to a very large extent, believe the government. But there are a lot of areas where there are disconnect between what government does and what the people believe. And that's why I say this is one area where government, and the government is doing a lot. Is putting a lot of efforts in trying to re-establish the lost trust, because this trust deficit is something which is not only for the government in Nigeria, it's actually a global practice everywhere you see. But in our own case, we're only concerned about our own, and that is where I agree with Osai, that on occasions like this, it is not government against civil society, government against media, government against other deep-seated groups and whatever. No. When we are addressing issues as fundamental as the one that touched on our existence as a country, then there must be so many areas of confluences. We must have to come together to hug one another, to extend hands of friendship, because you don't develop a society, using only one form of trajectory. No. The government is not always correct. Civil society is not always correct.
We need
the
to
media
close
is
now.
not always correct. But
we need to close now.
But an assemblage of all this together, driven by patriotism.
That agitation, Mr. Abari, the NSAS agitation, you think that the government did not handle it properly?
No. It's not.
You think you have handled it better?
It would have been handled better. It would have been handled better
by
security. No, it would have been better. It would have been handled better if security agencies had not been overwhelmed by the massive onslaught on them.
So you have learned
But
your lesson as a federal government.
Government is learning a lesson, and that is why it is always continuously working towards engaging citizens every inch of the way to make sure this is where it is headed.
Mr. Garba Abari, the Director General of the National Orientation Agency, thank you so much for coming tonight. And I must sincerely thank my other panelists on the program tonight. Osai Osigo is the Country Director of Amnesty International. Thank you so much for coming. Segun Awosanya, who joined us from London, a member of the NSAS panel. Oh, Segun, there you are. Let me allow you 10 seconds, please. I said, how do you describe Mr. Lai Mohammed's comment on your work?
I think it's hasty, and I believe that the Minister of Information has another chance to correct this, because we need to make believers of Nigerians. Because if you must build a nation where peace and justice shall reign, you don't come out to the public and respond to rumors. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Segun. Appreciate it, everyone. And that's our show for today. Thank you so much for watching. I'm Seun Okinbaloye. Bye-bye.